Josh Tolley, unleashing truth, freedom, and entrepreneurial power, putting up with my mediocre technological skills, new author of Acquisitional Wealth, the fastest, most proven way to create life-changing prosperity, all the way from near Houston. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
Hey, Wes. That's awesome. Great job. Great to be here with you, man.
Finally got it. I'm not that dumb. Oh my gosh,
Third time's
man.
the
So we'll talk about the book, but dude, you founded and CEO of Rum. I mean, why don't you lead with that? I mean, look, give me enough rum, I'll buy all your books. Is that fair?
If I give you enough rum, you might like them all too. No, just kidding.
Dude, give me enough. I'll leave 5-star reviews. I mean, there'll be typos, but there's typos anyway. So, I mean, it'll feel authentic.
There might be a gift pack coming your way.
All right. Very nice. Yeah, I'm looking at your website. So can you not focus? I see like CEO 17 times, or
Yeah.
are you proving the women wrong that men can in fact multitask?
I learned very young, be the chairman of everything and the CEO of nothing. And even if I hold the CEO title, the concept is still very, very true. I've been an entrepreneur since 1995 legally. Prior to that, I was an entrepreneur even when I was in school. So I've been doing this a very, very, very long time. And after a while, you just start to develop systems and patterns, and businesses start becoming less unique. And all you're really doing is plugging and playing with something else. And if you do that over and over and well enough, you can almost add it infinitely. Right now, as of March of 2020, I'm at 26 businesses right now. Probably adding the 27th.
26 that are running? Or that you started at 26?
No, that are running.
Dang.
Yeah.
26, huh?
Yep.
You could sell some. It's okay.
Well, I do. That's the thing. I've owned dozens and dozens and dozens. That's why I wrote the book, because I see all this crap out there from these Insta expert gurus about buying and selling businesses, and a lot of them have no clue what they're talking about. And I was like, oh man, now I got to write a book to kind of fix that. Yeah, go ahead.
Abraham Lincoln said, you can and should believe everything you read on the internet. I saw that on the internet. I saw it on Instagram.
And Dan Quayle Al Gore invented it too, right?
Yes, he did. I saw that on the internet too.
Yeah.
Are you saying
once in a while I saw it. What was that?
Are you saying I've been misled?
Just a little bit.
Just a bit outside. But anyway.
Yeah. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 9.
Take your base. And he's walked the bases loaded. Okay, but anyway. You know what's interesting? So total sidebar, but not really, because we're talking about millennials. But my daughter's up from San Diego, and she lives with her sister down there. They're both in college. And have you seen these TikTok skits that kids do, or even adults do, where they do the voiceover?
Yeah.
And so they just did one. And I asked, what was that voiceover? Right? What was that line? And it's literally just something that catches on. Somebody says something and it catches on. Yeah. Like bye Felicia. Right?
Yeah.
And so we were talking about that, but Mark Schaefer had a post not too long ago, and I've known him for years, had him on the podcast. He's, speaker, teaches at Rutgers. I mean, the guy knows his stuff. And he shared just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was like a kind of an essay or a Q&A he was having his students do. And they mentioned, one of the students mentioned, that this younger generation doesn't have these like bonding moments, if you will. Like we grew up about the same time, right? And we have, I mentioned a movie line, you chuckle, we know the movie.
Right.
Because we didn't have 137 channels or 4 million channels to choose from. So, but I mean, it creates a little bit of a bond, right?
Oh, totally.
Millennials don't have that. And so, I mean, I find it interesting. Maybe you can weave it into with the book, but I mean, along with, it's not even a common misconception, right? It's just reality that the Instagram gurus do dominate, and they may dominate some channel we don't even know anything about.
Right.
So how do we get the truth to them? Are people still reading books?
Well, so that's really interesting. People are reading books. As a matter of fact, the Gen Z is reading way more books than the millennials. When you look
Oh,
at like the 20 and unders, I'm actually selling to them more printed books than digital books. And the printed side's actually going up. They also like printed catalogs, which is why Amazon has now released a printed catalog. There's like this gap in time. You know, the younger millennials and the older Gen Zs, they're the ones that kind of, I don't know, went a little crazy maybe, but obviously we let them down, and you know, somebody's going to take that clip and say, "Oh, we're blaming
yeah.
millennials." No, it's the parents' fault.
No,
Got it. But
no, yeah. No blame. It just is.
yeah, it just is. But the younger Gen Zers and the whatever they're calling whatever's coming next, they're actually kind
I
of
think they call them
swinging the
alpha. I
pendulum
think
alpha.
they're literally going back in the alphabet. They're calling them alpha after Z.
Rock on. So yeah, they're making a little bit of a common sense comeback. So I'm kind of encouraged by what we're seeing
Nice.
in that regard. So,
All right.
but as far as how do you get them to do it, you have to have people who actually want to take the long road. You have to have people who want to put in the work to master a craft. And unfortunately, what a lot of these douche nuts on the internet are doing is they're creating shortcuts based on no experience but a lot of hype. And because there's this natural tendency to want to take the shortcut, everybody's jumping on board the shortcut train. And they're realizing by the time it goes off a cliff, oops, too late. But if you really want to dig into something, that's when you start studying stuff again. You know, we got rid of a man's study in order to get a man cave. Why? So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of, you know, I want to get back to that point where you can research and master a subject. Hence, to be honest, hence the logical place, which is a total, not even related to the book, but it's this idea of let's get back to logical deduction in all topics, regardless of political affiliation. Let's just weigh issues from an objective truth standpoint, and whatever it leads us to, whether we like it or not, that's the truth.
No, I mean, it literally. I don't think it can happen. And here's why I say this. So I don't know. So that picture
It doesn't
right there,
have
right?
to,
That's
though.
my plaque. Well, so United States Air Force Academy, right? That used to be.
Mhm.
That used to mean something. It used to be a pretty damn good school, right? People that went to West Point, Annapolis, Air Force. I don't know. They used to say we were pretty smart. But I see the stuff. Some of the biggest debates I have on Facebook are with my classmates that are
Oh,
on
I
the
bet.
other side of the aisle. Okay,
I bet.
like today, as we're recording this, you know, the Supreme Court comes out and rules 9-0 against Colorado. Colorado ruled in December that Trump cannot be on the ballot, and
Yeah.
any objective reading of the law, this was a federal case that had not even been tried yet, and the state is applying that rule. It's like, I'm not an attorney. I didn't even sleep in a Holiday Inn Express. I don't even play an attorney on TV. And I'm like, that's dumb. That's dumb ruling. You know,
Yeah.
I understand the desire that y'all don't want them on the ballot, but that's a dumb rule. And 9-0. So, but my classmates, and look, I am petty. I am snark by default. I went and I did a search. I found my buddy's post. Way to go, Colorado, back in December. I don't know how 24 is going to go, but it's off to a good start. And I just said, oops. And I found a GIF of a woman falling off a table. So if college educated veterans who went through all this together cannot have a rational, logical discussion based on facts, deductive reasoning, what hope is there? I mean, we make fun of it, but it truly concerns me.
The non-college educated.
So we're too smart for our own good.
Oh, well, not smart.
Too educated
smart
for our own
probably good. The wrong word. You're not.
Yeah.
You're too indoctrinated for your own good, and not all of them. Obviously, there's exceptions, but we see the same thing in entrepreneurship, right? I mean, remember when we were young, they would run that stupid TV ad that said a college degree means more than $1 million more to you in your career. Then they got rid of that because Vanderbilt University did a 10-year study, and they found that the financially worse off children were the valedictorians and the salutatorians, followed by the A students. And the most successful students in the country were D students. As a matter of fact, your odds of becoming a millionaire go up if your GPA is 2.75 or less. So it's that same sort of element that what works in entrepreneurship, the people who can actually think. What works in politics or social issues, the people who can actually think. And very rarely are the people who can actually think the ones that are at the top of the academic pyramid.
Well, that's the old adage that the C students hire the B students to manage the A students.
And the D students own the company. Yep.
Nice.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Because in order for that D student to even get out of school, they had to creatively figure out how to get out of this. That A student just wants to regurgitate an answer and get a reward. Regurgitate an answer and get a reward. Well, life doesn't work that way. Well, from a social, political, whatever sort of topic venue, you have the same sort of mindset. They want to regurgitate something they want and get something back that they want in return. It's kind of like morals. Anybody who says they have their own morals, they don't have morals. They have preferences.
Yeah.
So anyway, we could go down that rabbit trail for a decade.
Oh, I love it. So if you own 26 companies, like how far below D did you have? Were you like a zero?
Oh, man. Dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. I graduated high school, and you know how they do the dun, 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 dun thing, and you walk across the stage, and they give you that little thing. I opened it up, and mine had a Post-it. No joke. It had a Post-it note in it and said, "We need to see you after this." They just didn't want to embarrass me on stage.
Yeah.
So, kind of goes to prove the old adage. And I also couldn't read that well. I was so shy. I couldn't order a hamburger from McDonald's till I was 19. Terrible reading, terrible spelling, and now I've authored like 6 books, 7 books.
I mean, just a learning disability, or like what happened?
No, just didn't like school all that much. When I was 12, I was already making more than one of my teachers, the only teacher I remember by name. He pulled me aside and had that proverbial, you got to apply yourself, son. And at that time, I was already making more than he was, and he had a master's degree in education and worked part-time at the local Piggly Wiggly stocking shelves because education wasn't working for him. And hats off to him for doing what he had to do. Honest to God, hats off to him to put food on the table. Got it. But there was an obvious what works and doesn't work comparison going on. And I just kind of, in my immaturity, just kind of let that run and be like, what do I need this for? I'm already winning. Now, in retrospect, I probably should have learned how to read. That might have come in handy. But that was kind of the overall feeling all the way through high school until my first business failed. And then I was like, okay, we got to recalculate a little bit.
Yeah. What were you doing at 12?
I was running a gambling ring. So not necessarily the best.
Lemonade stand and branched out.
Yeah. You get these Mark Cuban stories. When I was 12, I started printing shirts and selling them out of my parents' garage. No, I was running numbers. But
where'd you learn that?
Friends and family, kind of the demographic that I grew up and around and stuff.
Very nice. I like it. Yeah, I'm well educated, well doctrinated, but I fought it the whole way. Like I went to the academy because I was recruited for football and we didn't have any money, in the 80s, right? Go get a good education. So, but I didn't want to go into debt for it. So, taxpayers paid for both of my degrees, and then did my 5 years and never used them again.
What was your MOS? What did you end up doing?
I was a meteorologist.
Oh, rock on. That came in handy.
Yeah. I mean, while I was in, it helps me win like Jeopardy and family quizzes, so I got that going for me.
Yeah.
And, my second daughter, she's about to graduate. She'll be the 4th college graduate, but they're all graduating with no debt. I told them, you're not going to college to find yourself, and I told them, you don't have to go to college, right? I'm not pushing you. And so
Yeah.
It's like you got to figure out what's going on in life, right? And they are. So because I've not been a fan of it for a long time, and so I like hearing your story and want to give people some hope, some inspiration. I love the angle of buying businesses. I've had a couple of guys over this podcast, almost 11 years old now, and I've only had a few. You might be like the third, maybe fourth at most, that are in this realm of buying businesses. So there is not a lot that is known
Sure.
about it. Your publicist sent me some info. This guy Bob, right? 10 years out of college, he was making 40K, had 60K in savings. He tried other side hustles. He was just grinding,
Yeah.
right? But you helped him leverage that. He bought a $500,000 business that
Yep.
gave him a take-home pay of 160K.
Right.
So how does that work? How do people do that?
Well, yeah, it's really kind of simple. It's so simple that they should teach it in school. It's older than real estate. Real estate in its modern form has been around for about 500 years. I have a copy of a stone that's etched with a chisel that has a business transaction on it going back at least 2,800 years ago. So it's something that should be taught. But here's kind of the basic math, right? You take what you have saved, multiply that by 10. The reason you're multiplying it by 10 is typically the SBA is going to require a 10% down payment. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Sometimes it's almost half. But just a good rule of thumb, multiply it by 10. So let's say you have 100 grand, just so I can do this math without paper. Take 100 grand, multiply it by 10. That's going to give you $1 million business. A $1 million business is small. It's what's considered a micro business to the government. Small business is anything under 250 million a year. So their definition and regular people's definitions might be a little bit off, but to them, it's a micro business. You take that million, divide it by 3. So you're going to get 333,000, So let's just say 300 grand. You're going to get 300 grand as the positive uptick, or SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, for the buyer. So you could say, well, wait a second, Josh, wait. You mean if I can get a $300,000 a year income? Yes. Not maybe, not kind of. We've done it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. Yes. And then the question comes in, well, do I have to pay the loan back out of my 300, right? It depends. It totally depends. But even if you did, even if you're paying 150,000 out of your 300,000, it beat the 60 grand you were making 4 days ago. And that if is huge, and we can maybe get into that later, but that if is huge. Or that maybe you have to pay it back that way.
Yeah, but what do I know, man? I'm a meteorologist. I can't go buy a auto repair shop or computer repair shop or a florist. I mean, I'm a meteorologist, man. I don't know about
No. It doesn't work that way. I know nothing about rum. I know nothing about childbirth. For 2.5 or 3 years, I owned the largest female clinic and birthing center in the Midwest. I have no clue how that works. I know push. I know how to make the baby. But other than that, that's all I got. I couldn't work in that business even if I wanted to, because I don't have any medical license. You don't have to know how to do the business you own in order for it to be successful. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things I tell people is stay away from things you know, like, or love. If you want to fail and fail hard and fast, get in a business that you know, like, or love.
Okay. Well,
it's true.
So much for do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Somebody's grandma told you that, and your grandmother lied. What happens when you do something you love?
You say my mama lied to me? Boy, I'm coming to Houston. Them's fighting words.
Well, come on then. But the reality is, when you do something you know, like, or love, the first thing that happens is you put on blinders like a horse, right? There could be a much better opportunity for you. You're not even going to see it. You're just going to focus on what you know, like, or love. The second thing that tends to happen is you start to hate the thing that you love. Here's a little bit of a reality check. The stuff you love, you pay to do. You pay the price for the stuff you love. Whether that's your children, your spouse, skiing, boating, whatever it is, the things you love, you pay the price for. If you're counting on, well, I love flowers, so I'm going to be a florist, you're going to end up hating it. I've talked to celebrities, I've talked to athletes, I've talked to pastors, I've talked to you name it. And as soon as what they love had to work for money, they started to hate it. What would be better is go make money with something that works. And then with that money, if you still want to have a flower shop, do it. But this way, it could never make money and you're still going to be happy.
I like it. Very cool. All right. So let's say somebody's listening to this.
Yeah.
They've got, maybe they're not as astute as Bob. Maybe they've only saved up $20,000.
Sure.
30, half of it. 30, you mentioned kind of in passing, you did things to your first business failed. I mean, what if they fail? What if they don't know about flowers? They buy a flower shop and it fails. They just threw all their money into it. Isn't that a risk?
No, not really. Statistically speaking, when you buy a business, there's some caveats, right? And nothing's guaranteed. This is my asterisk symbol. Asterisk, right? Nothing's guaranteed. However, statistically speaking, when you invest in a business and you're investing in one that is profitable, it's been proven profitable, and that's why the success rate is so high, your odds of failure are actually really low. Now, if you're going to take $10,000 and buy that guy's food cart, good luck, Chuck. You're probably going to fail. However, if you're buying a business that has 5 employees, they did $1 million in revenue, which doesn't mean it costs $1 million, but they've done $1 million in revenue. They've been around for longer than 5 years, so they got over that big hurdle. 9 out of 10 businesses don't make it 5 years, right? If you buy that business, it has a 90 to 98% success rate because now it's already proven itself. You would have to go in there and destroy it for it to stop making money, which is why when you buy a company, the owner's broker, the owner's accountant, the owner's lawyer, your broker, your accountant, your lawyer, the SBA, the IRS, where you're getting the tax returns from, the banks that's underwriting the loan, and the independent valuation company that the bank uses are all going to look at this business. So out of 11 people, even if we knock you out of the equation, there are 10 people who know what they're talking about. All of them went through that business with a fine-tooth comb and said, yeah, you know what? If you buy this, this is what you make. And stop, period. Whereas if you start something, right out of the gate, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that that's going to fail. It's going to take you 5 years before you turn a profit. Less than 1% of startups will ever even clear $1 million. That's not you take home. That means the business doesn't even clear it. Your odds are insane. If you had $20,000 and you said, Josh, I'm thinking about A, starting a business, B, investing in real estate, C, keeping it in a mutual fund, or D, buying an existing business that is already profitable, the answer is D, all day long and 7 times on Sunday.
Yeah, Josh. But look, man, if they were good, they'd be like you. They'd keep it. They're selling that business for a reason. I smell a rat. There's something dirt. They got termites. There's mold, black mold. There's slime in the ice machine. Don't buy that business.
No. No. So first, when people say something like that, like, oh, if it's making money, man, why are they selling it? Unless it's Twitter, you would always sell a business that's making money. If it's losing money, you're not buying it. Second, the average age of an entrepreneur in this country is 59 and a half. That's average. That means for every 20-year-old douche knot running a vape store in the local strip mall, there's a 90-year-old who's still trying to keep his family restaurant open in order to get an average of 59 and a half. So the real number one reason for a business being sold, age. Second, followed right behind it, health. Third, divorce. Fourth, they're just done. I was working with a couple who owned an assisted living facility, made great money. But they point blank told me, Josh, we want to get out of here before we have to move in. So there's a lot of that available. Mm-hmm. But besides that too, as long as you're checking out the business and you're using competent professionals to help you through the process, you're going to know how much the business has made in the past. And if you keep just doing what they're doing, don't even talk about what if you improve it. If you just do what they're doing, you're going to keep making what they made. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, we were making the joke earlier. I was, at least, like, I'm tired of technology. I mean, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff not working, it does get frustrating, and it's like, I'm sick of this shit. Like, I want to go do something else.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing. And
Well,
entrepreneurs in general, I mean, they're the creative types, and they do. Uh, Mark Wahlberg, I'm a peacock. I gotta fly. I mean, sometimes they're bored. They want to go do something else. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But you make a good point about, yeah, a business that is profitable should be sold, right? I mean, that's sell at the top, right? So that
yeah.
doesn't mean it's the top, but hopefully you jump in and make it even better. But
Sell
it's
at your
easy.
top.
Yes. Yeah. And
Sell at
everybody's got a
your
reason.
top. Yep.
Yep.
I tell people all the time, man, unless there's a legacy play, like your great great grandfather started it in Boston in 1712 or something, unless there's some sort of legacy play, you shouldn't really own a business longer than 5 years. Wherever you get to in 5 years is statistically where you're going to take it. Now, that doesn't mean somebody else can't take it further, but
Sure.
statistically speaking, wherever you are in 5 years, that's as far as you're going to go. And even if you said, okay, I have $1 million business, I'm making 300 grand a year. Okay, what's your goal this year? 20% growth would be killer. Well, 20% growth on $300,000 is 300. So you're hoping your income goes up 60 grand. Whereas if you sold it for the million, bought a $10 million business, and at that same ratio, that business is going to pay you $3 million. Why the hell are you still on the $1 million one? And that's something we call flip to fortune. You think flipping houses is profitable? Flip a company. I'm not trying to hold on to the 26 or 27, depending on when this airs, that I have. That's not the point. The point is, let me take them further down the road, then sell them to somebody else who wants to pick up where I left off. I'm going to take that money and buy something bigger.
How do you keep your finger on the pulse of 26 businesses? Because I know a lot of people with one business, they trusted too many people. That their accountant or financial person. Like, I know one guy in particular in Austin, he almost lost his business. She kept 2 books. She was not paying their taxes. She was paying them to herself. Now, he was not paying close enough attention to the books, but I mean, you got 26 companies. There's a lot of things that you got to have some trust in some people, and that's when you get burned.
Yeah, well, there comes a scalability to this too. One of the things you mentioned just right now was the accounting and the bookkeeping. Absolutely. Abso-stinking-lutely. 8 out of 10 small businesses, and again, small business, $250 million or less, hate their bookkeeping or accounting solution, even if that bookkeeper or accountant works in the building. So that is a massive, massive one. And because of that, as I started to grow, we just accumulated that too. So now my accounting firm is me. So I own that too. So you do get to that point where, just scalability starts to say, okay, well, if I need a website designer, I'm not going to hire a website designer. I'm going to buy a website design company, make all the profit that company's making, and just tell Joe he's making my website today. So there's certainly an element of that. But beyond that, I've developed over the past 29 years of doing this, what's called the table method. And you know how you have a car, and the only reason, unless it's a Tesla, the only reason a car doesn't start is either air, spark, fuel, or compression, right? It's one of those 4, 100% of the time. Well, the same thing is true with businesses. If a business isn't running well, it's not one of a million things. It's one of 4 things. And instead of a car analogy, I just made it a table, because your potential, your tabletop, can only hold what those 4 legs are capable of holding. So now I just focus on those 4 legs and say, okay, from my standpoint, I don't have to run the entire show here. I'm going to hire competent people to know how to do this. But I'm going to handle the legs that I can handle, or at least oversee the legs that I can oversee. And as long as I'm doing that well, there's really no end to the number of businesses that you can put in that portfolio, which is why you see these larger entities like what was Rupert Murdoch. I think he owns like 500 some odd businesses. It just gets insane at some point, because now it's just cookie cutter, stamp, 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 stamp. And then people say, oh, the rich keep getting richer. Well, just pick up your stamp. You can do the same thing. I don't know if I want to. It seems a little risky. Well, then there you go. There you go.
So if somebody is wanting to take this journey, and so they're going to stay away from what they know, like, and love, should they hire a broker? Should they scan Craigslist?
No. Stay off Craigslist. Stay off Biz Buy Sell. Stay off all the. Listen, the internet is there to get you. That's what it's there for. If something's free, you are the product. So you have to be really careful of the crap online. Remember when we were kids and we had what was called a newspaper? And you would have on the back page, you'd have the local car dealer, and he'd be like, hey, we got, red Corvette for sale. Call today. And then you call and they're like, well, the red Corvette sold, but I have a Chevy Nova, right? That same sort of thing is happening on these websites where it's like, oh, buy the business. So first off, a lot of CRAP, right, up on the websites. But then the second thing, hire a qualified broker, a good broker. There's a ton of crappy brokers because of the, oh, I think I can do this sort of phenomenon. Hire a good one, and that broker will help you vet that business. They'll look at the 7 years of financials, the profit and loss, the income statements. They'll go with you to the site visit. They'll prepare you for the interview that is that site visit. And they'll start spying and finding those untapped opportunities so that once you do buy it, there's juice left in the orange for you to grow that thing.
Should they look locally? Would you
so it kind of depends.
So you're in Houston, right? I'm in California. I love getting back to Texas. Could that be an excuse? Like, hey, let me build a web design, buy a web design company. Well, I know that. So maybe I don't. Maybe I buy a chiropractic clinic. I don't know, in Houston. So it gives me an excuse to go back. But are they going to pull the wool over my eye because I'm not there all the time?
That's one of those case by case scenarios, right? So the SBA, if you're going to get an SBA loan to do the acquisition, they like to see relevant experience, right? So somebody's going to say, well, Josh, if you just said don't do what you know, like, or love, and the SBA wants to see relevant experience, isn't that a problem? No, there's a million ways to work around that. But that's one thing they want, so put that aside. The next thing they want to see, if it's an SBA loan and it's the first of this kind of acquisition, so let's say you've been a car salesman your whole life and now you want to buy that flower shop, they want to see you live within 2-hour drive of that flower shop. Now, there are some ways to work around that. We've done deals where we've elevated the manager to 5% owner, so now ownership is on site. If you already own one and you're trying to expand into a new location, they tend to, oh, well, that makes sense. You just want a new one. So there's some ways we can work around that. But typically, what you want for your first, second, or third acquisition, if you're new at acquisitions, is you want something that doesn't have a cash register. So no restaurants, no flower shops. You want to avoid typical what's called income producing real estate. So things like laundromats and car washes. There's a lot of these people on social media who are like, oh, buy one of those. Those are great. No, they're not as great as they want them to appear to be, which is why there's a ton of them for sale. But you want something that really has 5 employees or more. That's key. It's 5 years old or older. That's key. Does $1 million in revenue. That's key. And then once you find that, you want to look at about 100, not kidding, about 100 other things associated with that business. So even though this is a very simple, so for example, if you do have a business that is geographically dependent, right? Well, you want to search and see, is there any construction that is going to, happen at this location over the next year or two? Because if you buy it and then they tear up the road in front of you, well, you're done. You want to look and see, if it's a franchise, what does the franchise agreement say? Does the franchisor have the right to approve whoever buys it? Do you have to go through training first before they'll sign off? Is there any tax abatements? This is a big one. You have owners who get tax abatements, and they might have gotten it years ago and forgot to even have it. Now the financials are based on, hey, I haven't paid any state taxes in 5 stinking years. The new dude buys it, the abatement doesn't transfer. Now that guy's making half the money that he thought he was going to make because he didn't have a broker who was smart enough to start looking into those sort of things. So the process is simple. The concept is simple, but there's a lot to actually executing a successful acquisition.
So my son's a realtor. You know, they have errors and omissions insurance. Right?
Yep.
Like if that business broker misses something like a tax abatement, can you go back on them for that, or is it buyer beware?
Depends on the state you're in, but we carry errors and omissions for that purpose. But it depends a little bit on the state you're in, which is why you want to be really, really leery of these Insta experts who are trying to teach classes on how to do this. If somebody teaches a class, oh, come buy my $15,000 class, whatever, they have no legal responsibility to you. You take that information, go home, do the wrong deal, end up in jail or something because you were stupid. You can't go back on them. That was on you. They just coached you. Whereas the broker, even in a bad state, more likely than not, is going to have some sort of commitment or obligation to serve you as an actual client in what's called establishing agency, as opposed to somebody who's just trying to teach you how to do this.
There's a guy on TikTok, and he's I don't know, probably in his 60s, and he has sold like corporate jets for his entire career, 40 years.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And he's all calm, right? But he gets these Insta experts. He's like, and it paused. Like, this guy's an idiot. This is a $60 million jet. And he's like, that's a $10 million jet. And I love. He just slow roast these guys.
Yep. I know exactly who you're talking about. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I like that guy, and it's true. I mean, we had one guy that we fired twice for being a terrible salesman who decided to start a how to be a salesman program. No joke. I'm not going to name him. Maybe he'll watch this, but that because the internet is so cheap and anybody can afford a camera phone now and become an expert, you have to be really careful. You have to say, and I mean this, whoever's listening to this, wherever you are, I can't take a bazillion clients anyway. So this is not a sales pitch. Whoever you go with, whoever you're, trying to get information from, make sure they've actually done it. Have they actually done it? Or did they just read a book on how to become certified?
Come on. Where's the fun in that?
Right? You got to risk it for the biscuit.
Fire walking. Do it for the vine, baby.
That's right. Forget the curveball, Ricky. Give him the
heater.
My
gosh. Give him the heater. So why are you writing a book, man? I mean, shouldn't you keep all this knowledge to yourself?
Dude, you know what? I'm an introvert of introverts. I hate doing this sort of stuff. I did it because I saw so many douche knots on the internet teaching people what to do. And people were ending up either in financial problems or legal problems. And I thought, this is kind of nuts. I need to put something out there from somebody who actually does this for a living and not teaches people how to do this. That's why I wrote the book. Honest to God, I had no intention of writing this book.
Well, look, man, they're not douche knots. They are douche nozzles. They are douche canoes. I don't know. Maybe they changed the verb.
Nozzle's even worse because if never mind.
Maybe up in Wisconsin, but if you're in South Texas, it's a douche nozzle. So, when in Rome, man, you gotta get the insults correct. All right. I mean, details matter.
Yeah.
That's funny. So yeah, you're an introvert, and here's a picture. Is that you on stage in front of what? I don't know, 10,000 people?
Yeah. God has a weird sense of humor. I'm serious. If I were to do my know, like, or love, I would live in a cabin, maybe 2 hours away from anybody. And if I were to write for a living, I would write science fiction novels. That's what I would do. Maybe be a fur trader for the Hudson Bay Company in the 1600. Anything but what I'm doing now. I'm doing what I do now because I hate to see what is happening to people.
I went to Maine 2.5 years ago
On purpose?
on purpose. Yeah, it was awesome. I'd never been. It was for an 8-day jujitsu camp. And,
I like you even more now.
And dude, I just fell in love with it, right? So I started Googling stuff, looking on Zillow, and
yeah,
I find 111-acre property with a house and a barn and a workshop, right? I could have sold my house here and paid cash for that thing and had money left over. I'm like, hey, honey, you ready? She's like, you don't know anything about working a farm, whatever. I'm like, there's YouTube,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I have looked up how to make maple syrup myself. So yeah, I get it.
I mean, no mortgage, right? I can just flap my gums for an hour or two each day and go back out on the farm.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Yep.
I don't know. She likes communities and sidewalks, and now we have grandkids, so I'm stuck. So, but I feel you, man. Like I realized late in life, I don't know if I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert, but man, like I like people for a minute, and then it's like, I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna go read a book. I
like people as a concept. As a concept, I like people. Like, humanity's getting along. But it is so crazy. This is an absolutely true story, and maybe it's an overshare. But whenever I travel with this like little entourage of people because of what we do. And I don't even stay in the same hotel as the people who I employ. Dead serious. That's how much introvert I am. I'm thinking, okay, we're getting y'all hotel rooms over there. I'm going to stay over there because once I'm off stage, I am done. I don't stick around and do the shindig afterwards or the dinner.
Right, that's kind of extreme. I might have to edit that out. I mean, that's out there, man. No, I feel you because they all want to get together. Let's talk.
Yeah,
let's go have a nightcap. I'm like,
yep.
No.
Yeah,
I want to lay in bed with my shoes off. I'm gonna read. Watch a movie. Yeah, we were just talking the other day because my son's an entrepreneur, right? He's newlywed. They got a baby. He's like, man, I can never shut down. My son-in-law is a cop. He's like, oh, when I'm off work, I'm off work. There's pros and cons to each. I was saying, they asked me, do you ever shut your mind off? Like, probably literally the only time is if I'm watching a movie. But even then, now with all the things they've got, like I love IMDb.
Yes.
And like Amazon now has the thing like you can like X-ray.
Dude,
I pause and I'm reading all the trivia, and then I'm looking. What movie was that dude in? Now I'm down a rabbit hole. 10 minutes later, I'm back to the movie. Like, where was I? Oh, I got to rewind it 3 minutes. Oh yeah. I don't watch a movie all the way through. So
no, I totally get it. I started watching black and white movies for that reason. I was on IMDb looking up who Gail Storm is, and she was in this show called My Little Margie. She was dead before I even took my first breath, but somehow I ended up down that rabbit hole. So yeah, I totally feel you. Totally.
So should this business acquisition be easy? Because the reason I ask, okay. I want you to answer that. I want you to explain that. So hold that thought.
I'll retract my answer.
But no, keep it because you have a reason for that. But my example is we're trying to buy a winery right now, and it is overpriced. Mm-hmm. It's in a state of disrepair. I've got some friends that have done multiples of these, so we're partnering up with them. The listing broker is older. One of the owners died. They're in their 80s. The wife is just deferring to the broker, and he's making it difficult. He's overpriced the thing. It's literally has county. I forget the word, but they are out of code. I mean, the thing has to literally be plowed under and just start over. But it's a beautiful property, high on a hill, great. And we have like 50 wineries out here. So, I mean, beautiful location. Our friends have built another one on their own, and they have been contracted to build others. So great experience. But it's hard. It's like, good grief. Sure. Why is this guy making this so hard? So we made an offer, and now we're just like letting it cook. Mm-hmm. We're literally 100% or 50%, however you want to look at it, off. Right? They want 2x of our offer. And so we're just letting it cook, So should it be hard like that? Like, are you battling these things out, or is it like when it's right, it's easy and it falls into place?
Well, when it comes to price should be the easiest part. If you and the other side are battling over price, that's a massive red flag.
Yep.
Massive red flag. Because the math part should just math. Now, where it gets hard is how do we make that price applicable? But you shouldn't have a 2x gap. I mean, I don't know the deal, so I'd have to see it, but something's wrong there. Because you should want to pay what it's worth, and they should want to charge what it's worth, and everybody should know that. Then where negotiations really come in, and this is where, let's pause that for a second. This is where you have to be careful with a lot of these brokers. A lot of them come from a commercial real estate standpoint, and they list these businesses as commercial real estate, and they think they know what they're talking about, and they're 100% off. They're just 100% off. But because there's so few real business brokers, you get a lot of crap out there. So anyway, back to our point. The price should not be the movable widget. You might have a 5 to 10% swing depending on who's going to be the lender, what interest rates are, but you shouldn't have a double the price variant. Where negotiations come in is, am I going to give you all of that price in money, or am I going to give it to you in something else? And we've done deals that have included statues of the founder in the lobby of the business, so the grandchildren know that grandpa started this thing, knocked $100,000 off the price.
I included that offer, and this woman, she's from Europe, and she just says she just wants to go back home, and I'm like, we wrote in there first class ticket, back to Europe.
Yes. Yep. We've had season passes. We've had warehouse space to hold an airplane. We did one deal for eggs. Not kidding. We did one deal that had 10 square feet of property in South America because the dude he was into astronomy or whatever, where you look at the crap in the sky. And he wanted to have a remote controlled telescope in South America so he could see the other part of the sky. Like, the negotiations should be fun and be a ton of other stuff, but the price isn't the thing that should be moving that much.
Yeah, because I mean, in business, I mean, a thing is worth what it's worth, right? If you have a Toyota Tundra, I mean, you know what it's worth. Here's all the options. Okay, Southeast versus Northwest. All right, maybe there's a 5% swing, but a Toyota Tundra is a Tundra. So it's the same thing with a business, right?
But that's where you have a difference between price, value, and worth. Price is what's actually going to change hands. Like, that's what, if you're going to get lending, that's what the lender's going to agree to underwrite you for. That doesn't mean, though, that's what it's worth to you. So, for example, would I buy a business that's actually losing money? Possibly, if they had something else that was worth it to me. Now, would the bank agree to that price? Oh, hell no. So you have to weigh those things out, but the price part should be easy. The price should be, what does the math out to?
Yeah. Cool. So your book, I'll release this episode right away, but so it's coming out in April, right? So next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not out yet. People can pre-order it. They sent me a little copy so I could do interviews with it and stuff. But people can go grab it wherever books are sold.
But it's JoshTolley.com.
JoshTolley.com. Yes, sir. And we have a special podcast for the book too. So we have an Acquisition Wealth podcast talking about all this fun stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, just the website, and they'll be able to find it.
Yeah, because I can see from here, got Meet You, your companies, the business expert, the logical place. Is that your podcast? It has a microphone. I'm going to use my brain because a brain on the microphone that it says the logical place. I mean, logically, that's logical. Your podcast.
Yeah, and actually in the studio for that. There's a bunch of crap on the other side of this. Huh?
I'm not totally indoctrinated. See, I did a little deductive reasoning there. I did this live, like on the fly even. There's hope for me.
We love deductive reasoning around here. No, I got a podcast, The Logical Place. We're actually going to expand that, but I'm not ready to say that publicly yet. But so that's completely unrelated to the book and to my business of buying and selling businesses. But yeah, we're We're in that studio at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, everything's here. Facebook, X. Is it X? Is it really X? Isn't it Twitter?
Dude, that is such a dumb name.
I'm getting used to it, but it's like I read this tweet. Like I don't say I read this X. That's just but anyway.
Right.
Instagram,
Right.
YouTube, LinkedIn.
I
they're
X'd
everywhere.
you.
And hey, you know what? Hey, look at it. Check this out, man. This is why I like you. So two things.
We got a
In
what?
the footer, you have the correct date. So kudos to you. Most people don't.
Bam.
And website
most
created
people
by so the company that did it. It opens in a new tab. Oh, I hate when web companies, they always link to themselves. So I'm always iffy on that. Usually I take that out, but it opens in the same window. And I'm like, that is freaking rude. Don't do that. And then all your socials, they all open in a new window and they go to the real place. I can't tell you how many times I click on somebody's Facebook and it goes to a hashtag, like their URL, hashtag, flash hashtag. I'm like, okay, people, never mind.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, at least put some effort into it, right?
So you passed the sniff test, man.
Well, there you go.
What was that big jar? Was that pretzels?
Oh, that was my brain. So we actually have a whole studio here for the logical thing. And we have a little brain on the matches the microphone.
Oh my gosh. Here I have squishy brains.
Oh,
use them for
love the squishy brains.
for direct mail, right? Staple at the top of the page.
Yeah.
So they get the lumpy mail and then a squishy brain. So then you got to tie the message into the brain. But
yay! I love it. Well, then you pass our brain sniff test.
There you go.
You know your nose is the only sensory organ that goes directly to the brain without having to go through another filter.
I think I did. Now you say it, it sounds right, but I don't think I could have quoted that. Yeah. That's why it brings back such memories, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So powerful, emotional.
Yep.
I've studied a lot, studied the brain, but there's a thing called Broca's area in the ear. And because you're always listening, even when you're not, right? That's why the teacher, Mr. Tolley, are you even listening to the thing I said? Oh yeah, you said, A equals B squared C, whatever. You can hear like the last 5 seconds. It's like rattling around in your brain.
Yep.
But Broca's area is like, I forget the word, but it's the switch, right? And it's like interesting, not interesting, interesting. So because when we read things, we're actually saying it out loud, right? Quietly in our brain. So we're hearing ourselves reading the words. So that part of the brain is routing, like, is this interesting or not? Oh, I've seen this before. Oh, a lot of adjectives. Oh, it's passive. Oh, boring.
Yeah.
So, we got to get past that, but people don't know that. But hey, that's why I have work. People don't know these things. They take the shortcut. Their blinders are on because they're in what they know, like, and trust, or know, like, and love, whatever. And
yep.
Oh well. Well, cool, man. Thanks for letting me be late. Used the wrong link. Ramble on.
No worries. That's what we're here for.
Called you a boomer. Then you said, come fight you. Like, you weren't supposed to say, hey, come on. You're supposed to say, no, man, I don't want any party. You're like, you call my bluff. I got to edit like a lot of stuff out of this thing. Now this is extra work. I don't even know why I did this thing.
Well, because you were fascinated. You were fascinated by the idea of, wait a second, maybe I can just buy somebody else's show and, get their audience. I'll just acquire their show.
Hey, that's a thing, but
it is.
I'm glad you gave me the Cliff's Notes version. I wish you had more pictures in the book, but it's still good. Okay.
I was thinking I needed some pictures. We're going to come out with a kid's version of this. Mommy, why does Daddy own 27 companies?
And it's going to say dedicated to Wes. All right.
I love it.
This cartoon drawing version of the book is dedicated to the Sales Whisperer. All right. Acquisitional wealth, the fastest, most proven way to create life-changing prosperity. All the way from Houston, man. Thanks for taking the time. It's been great catching up.
Thanks for having me, Wes. I appreciate it, man.